I'm going to share in this episode one of my favorite 35-year-old clients that will be a mega millionaire using IUL. And the reason why I'm doing this is because, frankly, my sweet spot, most of my clients are 55 to 75-year-olds that have $500,000 or more of underperforming or non-performing assets. And they come to me wanting to increase the liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax benefits to not outlive their money during their golden years and prepare for a comfortable retirement. And so we reposition assets by using max funded IUL so that every $1 million will generate a 10% payout of $100,000 a year of tax-free income for as long as they live. And so many of my clients have $10 million, $50 million, but every now and then I'll have a younger individual that I do not delegate to other agents because I can tell that these young people are special. And in this episode, I'm going to share an example of a remarkable 35-year-old client that is so disciplined that he will be a mega millionaire using IUL because he is a good steward over his money and he respects any money that he received from his parents instead of blowing it on expensive things. So get ready. I think you're going to love this example. So I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist now for north of 5 decades, helping thousands of Americans optimize their assets, minimize taxes, and empower their authentic wealth. Now, through the years, I started in 1974. And I had many clients back in the 1970s that they would start by socking away $50 a month, $100 a month. And then later on, as they became more financially mature, $500 a month, $1,000 a month. And many of my clients that started out at age 35, let's say, socking away $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. 30 years later, they had over $1 million tax-free in their insurance policy, okay? Just do the math. So $500 a month, $6,000 a year for 30 years, earning a nice average rate of return. By diversification and rebalancing, I've been able to average 9.62% net internal rate of return for many of my clients. And so if you do the math, in 30, 35 years, $500 a month will accumulate at least $1 million nest egg, tax-free, okay? But every now and then, now I work with a lot of very high net worth people, I'll have a younger person who comes to me one way or another from my YouTube channel, and I can tell they're unique, they're disciplined. And it is an absolute delight to work with them. To be honest with you, a lot of 35-year-olds, they sometimes think they know it all, and they try to eke out $500 a month, and the first jet ski or boat or maybe four-wheeler side by side at an RV and boat show, they cancel their IUL policy because they went out to consume, okay? So a lot of younger people seem to consume rather than conserve. But I'm going to share with you a story of one of my favorite 35-year-old clients who does the opposite. This young man, he conserves and does not consume hardly at all. And so I appreciated him from the word go. When he came to me, he was very humble, very teachable. And he basically did what I recommended. Because I sort of separate the sheep from the goats. I do not like to sit there and spoon feed and teach people what they could read or watch or listen and learn. I like to start at this level. And so I give homework to my clients. And a lot of younger ones don't do their homework or they try to fake it. Well, he did his homework. He read in its entirety, The Laser Fund, both the left brain side and the right brain side, and he read it actually twice. That's 300 pages. He also read my other best-selling book, Entitlement Abolition, because he was recommended to me by his grandmother. And he reminded me that when he was quite young, as a young teenager, his grandmother brought him to an annual review. She had been a client with me for years. And I remembered her bringing her grandson and saying, now, if I happen to pass away, this is who I will probably leave behind the rest of my money to, is this grandson. He's very responsible and accountable. And I wanted him to meet my financial strategist, Doug Andrew. And I go, I remember you. He was about 12 years old. Well, that was years before. And about 20 years later, his grandmother passed away. And he remembered that. And he looked me up, and she had still a life insurance death benefit. And he was the beneficiary. And so, he basically asked what many do. Well, what should I do with this money? Now, most 35-year-olds would probably take a few $100,000 of death benefit and go out and blow it. Buying a car, a motorcycle, doing this and doing that. I've seen it happen, hundreds of times, where they get a windfall. I remember years ago, there was over 1,000 widows at a mining disaster, a coal mining disaster in Utah. And after 5 years, the vast majority of those widows that had received several $100,000 in life insurance benefits had nothing to show for it. Amazing. And so that's normally what happens when a 35-year-old gets a big lump sum of money. He respected his grandmother, and he wanted to reinvest that back into an IUL policy. He remembered that because he said, now, wouldn't you recommend that I keep it tax-free? And I said, absolutely. You've read my book. You've got this money tax-free. You ought to keep it tax-free. And so he was single, didn't have a spouse. But we took the minimum amount of life insurance that the IRS would let us get away with under TEFRA and DEFRA to accommodate that lump sum of money. And we had to, of course, spread it out to comply with TAMRA. And then as we were getting that policy approved, something horrible happened. This was right in the middle of COVID-19. And he ended up suffering the loss of both of his parents, his father and then his mother. And so what was very interesting is to watch him assume with maturity, even though he was scared, and I gave him some counsel and advice because he inherited the business. And so it wasn't a huge business, but there were a dozen employees. And he was taking just a small, $75,000 salary, working there as a vice president of the company. But now he was going to be president of the company. Now, to be honest with you, a lot of 35-year-olds would have just said, I'm going to sell the company for $1 million or $1.5 million and bye-bye. I just want the money. Not him. He wanted to honor that legacy of his folks building up this business. And so he stayed there and kept his salary at $75,000 for several years until he knew that he could finally up it. And the business did very, very well because of his management skills that he began to develop. He had some tough decisions at times, and some employees quit on him. But I just really, really respected the maturity that he developed. Now, I'm just going to fast forward 5 years. He's actually not quite 40. And what he did is he was able to take the money that he inherited, his folks' home, and he was able to sell the home. He didn't go blow it. He was able to take their 401k, and we did a strategic rollout of their 401k out to an IUL policy for himself. And then he had a second IUL policy. So he has two IUL policies. Now, he has max funded these as fast as the IRS allows in just 4 years, okay? Because of his age, being 35 at issue, he was able to max fund these policies in 4 payments, which he has been disciplined and done. Most 35-year-olds would have found somewhere to blow the money on during the time period. But what else I admire about this young man is he finally, this last year, increased his salary to $120,000. Why? Because the company, with all of his management, he's been giving bonuses to the employees and treating them right, but he's been able to make a $300,000 plus net profit. And so he has disciplined himself not to sit there and take $250,000 salary, but $120,000, and he saved the other $180,000. So I just barely met with him for his 4th annual review, and he had completed funding his first policy with $500,000, and his second policy, which had a guideline single premium of $1 million. So he has $1.5 million basis in his 2 IUL policies that's earning tax-free interest. He could retire right now and generate the $120,000 of income, no brainer, at an 8% payout out of those 2 IUL policies, tax-free. He could hang up his spurs and retire, which I've seen many 39, 40-year-olds do. Nope. He is determined to build this legacy for another at least 15 years to age 55. And he wants to continue to sock away that. And so he said, can I open a 3rd IUL policy? So that's what we're doing. He wants to accommodate another $1 million that he wants to put in over the next 4 years. That's $250,000 a year. Now, he has been a very, very good steward on anything he inherited, but especially the business and running it and not taking a bunch of money. The only thing that he purchased was a Tesla automobile because he wanted to save money, and that's it. He almost felt bad that he bought himself a new car. He was able to sell his home and build another nice home, not a lavish, huge home. He has not been out there buying, boats and motor homes and everything like that. Very, very prudent. You know what that's going to mean? Based upon what he's currently accumulated in just 4.5 years in his IUL policies, 1.5 million, the other 800,000 that he has saved from the business and what he continues to want to save, he will conservatively, in 15 years at age 55, have well over $10 million. First of all, the $1.5 million he's accumulated will, based on the average returns we're generating on his IUL policies, double twice, okay? So the $1.5 million will double to 3 million and then to 6 million. But he'll have another 4 million accumulated from the 3rd IUL policy that he's just beginning to sock away. And I suspect he'll open a 4th one probably in the next 2 years. Those are incredible clients because they keep opening new IUL policies because they keep making money because they're disciplined. That's the secret. He is going to have the world by his tail, but I can tell you right now, he's probably going to be able to generate $500,000 a year, easy, of tax-free income, probably $1 million a year of tax-free income with a 10% payout on $10 million in 3 IUL policies. I have many clients that get a 10% payout. That's $1 million a year. But I can almost assure you, he'll probably only take 1/4 of that at the most, and he'll let the rest grow. And that's because he believes in being a good steward. He's disciplined. He has patience. He understands this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. He's not tempted by all the shiny objects out there where people say, hey, you can afford to go buy a $200,000 boat or a $300,000 motorhome. Why don't you do it? No, he doesn't need it. And if he doesn't need it, why should you go waste the money consuming rather than conserving? So the message here is find young people that are disciplined, that are interested in conservation rather than consummation. They should conserve money instead of consume. And so that's my recommendation. I just wanted to tip my hat. I admire this young man. Just had my annual review with him. But he started by studying my book, The Laser Fund, and also Entitlement Abolition. So I would recommend you do the same. This retails on Amazon for between $20 to $60, but I'll give you a copy for free. You simply go to laserfund.com or click on the link below and contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost and I'll pay for the book. I'll fire out a hard copy to you via priority mail. And while you're in there claiming your free copy of this 300-page book, if you'd like to listen and learn or watch and learn, there's those formats available for your investment. You can even register for a free educational webinar that we teach called Retire by Design. And there's no cost or obligation. But also, you can schedule an appointment to talk to an IUL professional that will show you how a properly structured max-funded IUL, like I've designed for this young man I've been talking about, may work in your particular set of circumstances so that you don't miss the boat. Now, this is actually two books in one. This side is for the left brain learner, the charts and graphs and explanations. This book is for the right brain learner. It has 62 actual client stories. If you want to use your whole brain, your right brain and your left brain, then you can read both books. But this is really about you and your brighter future. So if you're in your 30s or 40s, or maybe in your 50s or 60s, it's not too late. Most of my clients are 65, 70 years old, even 75 to 79. It's never too late to employ these strategies. If you understand them, the cost of insurance is less the older you are. In other words, the insurance required goes down the older you are. Your rate of return is the same, whether you're a 22-year-old athletic marathon running female, or if you are a 78-year-old friend of our family that was able to earn 11 and net 10% rate of return, even though he had 3 blocked arteries, adult onset diabetes, a prostate cancer episode. Yes, Tefra and DEFRA allows you to squeeze down the insurance based upon your age, your gender, and your health. And the older you are, the less is required, so the cost of insurance is the same. If you don't understand what I said, you need to study my book, The Laser Fund. This is about you and your brighter future.